She's 8, proud of her roots. Then a teacher shames her in front of the class for being off-theme. The blame? Unfair. The hurt? Deep. But her mom, Anna, wasn't just any parent. Quiet, calculating, overlooked. She pulled the school's own records and uncovered a systemic pattern of bias. What started in one classroom shook the entire district. This is what happens when a mother fights back. Anna Herrera had always believed in new beginnings. After years of careful planning and quiet dreams, she and her daughter, Sofia, had moved from a bustling city on the coast to the seemingly tranquil Midwestern town of Crestwood. Promised good schools, friendly neighbors, and a fresh start. Anna, a woman whose gentle demeanor often masked a profound inner strength and a remarkably sharp, analytical mind, was eager to build a life here. She had honed this analytical skill over years of navigating complex immigration processes and adapting to new environments, learning to observe patterns that others often missed. It was a quiet power, rarely displayed, but always working beneath the surface. Crestwood Elementary, with its green lawns and welcoming sign, seemed like the perfect place for Sofia. The first few weeks were a whirlwind of excitement. Anna, determined to be an involved parent, quickly volunteered for the PTA. She baked for bake sales, helped organize a fall festival, and always greeted everyone with a genuine smile. Sofia, with her infectious curiosity, made a couple of friends and chattered excitedly about her new teacher, Ms. Albright. However, beneath the surface of Crestwood's pleasantries, Anna began to sense a subtle, almost imperceptible current of unease. It was in the way a few parents' smiles didn't quite reach their eyes when she spoke with her slight accent. It was in the fleeting glances exchanged between some teachers when she asked questions about the curriculum. Her analytical mind, conditioned to pick up on subtle cues, registered these moments, though she tried to dismiss them as her own oversensitivity. Sofia's joy, too, began to be tinged with a delicate shadow. One afternoon, she came home quieter than usual. "Mommy?" she asked, her brow furrowed. "Why does my lunch look different?" Anna had packed her salpicon de pollo, a favorite from home. Sofia explained that a girl named Emily had wrinkled her nose and asked why she didn't eat normal food, like peanut butter sandwiches. Another day, a boy on the playground, Thomas, had mimicked Sofia's careful pronunciation of an English word, making other children giggle. "He said I talk funny," Sofia whispered, her eyes welling up. Anna held her daughter close, her heart aching. These were small things, perhaps. Children could be unintentionally cruel. But her internal alarm, the one that noticed patterns, began to flicker. She reassured Sofia, explaining that being different was beautiful, that their heritage was something to be proud of. Yet, a seed of worry had been planted in Anna's mind, a worry that Crestwood's welcome might not be as universal as it seemed. She saw these incidents not as isolated events, but as data points, and a troubling picture was slowly beginning to form. The unsettling whispers soon solidified into more distinct episodes. In art class, the theme was our community. Sofia, inspired, painted a vivid scene of her family's traditional festival de las Cometas Gigantes, the giant kite festival from her grandparents' village, a riot of color, joy, and intricate designs against a bright blue sky. She was proud of her work. But Ms. Evans, the art teacher, paused by her easel, her lips pursed. "Sofia," she said, her voice devoid of warmth, "this is interesting, but the assignment was about our community, Crestwood. This seems a bit off-theme. Perhaps something more representative of an American town." Sofia's vibrant painting was quietly put aside, never displayed with the others. When Sofia recounted the incident, Anna felt a familiar pang. It wasn't just about a rejected painting. It was about a rejected identity. Anna looked at the beautiful artwork, rich with heritage, and her analytical mind clicked. This wasn't an isolated incident of a teacher having a bad day. This was another data point, fitting a pattern she was beginning to recognize with growing dread. She started to keep a small, discreet notebook, jotting down dates, names, and specifics. It was a habit born from navigating bureaucracies, where documentation was survival. The The microaggressions continued, like a steady, demoralizing drip. During recess, Billy, the same boy who had mocked Sofia's accent, cornered her by the slide. "You look foreign," he sneered, his voice loud enough for others to hear. "My dad says people like you should go back where you came from." Sofia stood frozen, her face burning, unsure how to respond to such raw animosity. She didn't tell Anna about this immediately, the shame and confusion too heavy. Then came the incident with the substitute teacher, Ms. Gable. Anna was volunteering in the library when she overheard Ms. Gable approach a small group of children during recess, including Sofia and another girl, Isabella, who was also bilingual. They were chattering happily in Spanish. Ms. Gable interrupted them, her tone sharp. "Girls, this is America. You should be practicing your English," she stated. Later, when Anna picked Sofia up, Ms. Gable pulled her aside. "Mrs. Herrera," she said, with an air of misguided concern, "I noticed Sofia speaking Spanish quite a bit today. Are you sure you should let her? It might confuse her English development." Anna was momentarily stunned. She replied politely but firmly, "Spanish is part of her heritage, Ms. Gable, and being bilingual is an advantage, not a hindrance." But the substitute's words, and the implication that her culture was a detriment, resonated deeply. That evening, the conversation between mother and daughter was somber. "Mommy," Sofia asked, her voice small, "why don't they like it when I speak Spanish? Why did Ms. Evans not like my painting? Is being from where Papa and Abuela are from bad?" Anna's heart clenched. How could she explain the complex, ugly face of prejudice to her innocent child? She spoke of ignorance, of fear of the unknown, but also of the importance of pride in who they were. "Never let anyone make you feel ashamed of your heritage, Mija," Anna said, her voice thick with emotion. "Your roots are strong and beautiful." But as she held Sofia, Anna's mind was racing. The casual dismissal, the pointed comments, the well-meaning advice that reeked of bias, these were not random acts. These were the invisible walls of prejudice, slowly but surely closing in on her daughter. The pattern was undeniable now, stark and alarming. And Ana Herrera, the quiet immigrant mother everyone underestimated, knew she could not, and would not, let it continue. Her initial politeness was wearing thin, replaced by a steely determination. The fight for her daughter's dignity had begun. The breaking point came during Crestwood Elementary's much-anticipated Cultural Heritage Week. Each child was encouraged to share something about their family's background. Sofia, after much encouragement from Ana, decided to present a small, intricately woven Ojo de Dios, or God's Eye, explaining its significance as a symbol of protection and good wishes in her ancestral culture. She stood on the auditorium stage, her voice trembling slightly but filled with pride as she began to speak. Suddenly, from the audience, Billy started making loud, exaggerated yawning sounds. Another boy next to him snickered. Sofia faltered, her face flushing. Mrs. Davison, the teacher supervising the presentations, a woman known for her short temper, immediately rounded on Sofia. "Sofia Herrera," she snapped, her voice echoing through the microphone. "If you can't keep your presentation engaging enough to hold your classmates' attention, perhaps you shouldn't be on stage. We don't have all day for disruptions." Sofia was effectively silenced, accused of causing the disruption herself. Tears streamed down her face as she was curtly told to take her seat. Sofia came home that day utterly devastated, her spirit crushed. The injustice was blatant, cruel, and public. For Ana, this was more than an insult. It was an attack on her child's very soul. The carefully documented notes in her little book now felt like kindling to a growing fire within her. The time for quiet observation was over. The time for action had arrived. This was the shocking incident that solidified her resolve. People saw a heartbroken mother. They didn't yet see the meticulous strategist preparing for battle. The next morning, Ana requested an immediate meeting with Principal Miller. She sat in his office, outwardly calm, but her mind was a whirlwind of organized thoughts and righteous anger. She laid out her concerns: Ms. Evans' dismissal of Sofia's art, Ms. Gable's comments about Spanish, and now the humiliating and unfair disciplining of Sofia by Mrs. Davison. Anna didn't just recount anecdotes. She presented a sequence, a clear pattern of behavior from multiple staff members. "Mr. Miller," she stated, her voice low but firm, "this is not about isolated misunderstandings. This is about a climate in your school that is making my daughter, and likely other children, feel unwelcome and ashamed of who they are." Principal Miller listened, shifting uncomfortably in his chair. He offered platitudes. "Mrs. Herrera, I understand your concern. Children can be challenging. Teachers are under a lot of pressure." He promised to address the matter with the teachers involved, to have a word. But Anna's analytical senses picked up on the defensiveness, the subtle dismissal, the lack of genuine commitment to investigate. He was trying to placate her, to make the problem go away with minimal effort. She knew then that his polite reassurances were hollow. That evening, Anna made a decision. Polite requests had failed. The system was designed to protect itself. Her quiet perseverance, a trait she had cultivated through years of navigating adversity, now kicked into high gear. She researched local attorneys specializing in civil rights and education law. The name Malik Johnson appeared, highly recommended for his work with marginalized communities. Malik Johnson listened patiently as Anna recounted Sofia's experiences, her voice steady despite the emotion churning beneath. He was impressed by her clear recollection of details, her organized notes, and the quiet fire in her eyes. This was not just an emotional mother. This was a woman with a keen intellect and an unshakable resolve. "Mrs. Herrera," he said, "what you're describing sounds like a pattern of racial and cultural bias. These cases are difficult but not impossible. The school district will likely resist." Anna nodded. "I understand. But I cannot stand by and watch my daughter be treated this way. What do we need to do?" Her hidden skill, her sharp analytical mind, was now fully engaged. She wasn't just a client. She was a partner in this fight. Guided by Malik, Anna began the arduous process of formal documentation. Her analytical approach became her greatest weapon. She interviewed other parents, not just from her own immigrant community, but others who felt their children might have been sidelined. She learned to ask open-ended questions, to listen more than she spoke, drawing out stories that had long been suppressed by fear or resignation. Mr. Patel, the ESL instructor, a kind man who had witnessed much over the years, shared his own concerns, his observations aligning with Anna's. Each piece of information, each testimony, was another thread in the tapestry of evidence she was weaving. The process was emotionally draining, but Anna's perseverance was relentless. She was no longer just fighting for Sofia. She was fighting for all the children whose voices had been silenced. Finally, with a binder thick with documented incidents, witness statements, and a meticulously crafted narrative of systemic bias, Malik Johnson, on behalf of Anna and Sofia Herrera, filed a formal complaint against the Crestwood School District. The confrontation had officially escalated. There would be no turning back. News of Anna Herrera's formal complaint against the Crestwood School District rippled through the quiet town like a stone dropped in a still pond. It spread through hushed conversations at PTA meetings, in concerned threads on neighborhood social media groups, and over fences during weekend gardening. At first, there was disbelief, then a hesitant curiosity. Many couldn't imagine such things happening in their Crestwood, but Anna was no longer alone. Allies began to emerge from the shadows, drawn by her courage and the undeniable truth of her story. Rebecca Larson, a fellow PTA member known for her pragmatism and strong sense of fairness, was one of the first. Initially, Rebecca had found the accusations hard to believe, but she listened to Anna, truly listened, and saw the pain and conviction in her eyes. Rebecca, leveraging her own respected position within the community, began to ask her own quiet questions, and what she learned troubled her deeply. "Anna," she said one afternoon over coffee, "I was blind, but I see now. What can I do to help?" Mr. Patel, Crestwood Elementary's dedicated ESL instructor, a gentle man who had long harbored concerns about the subtle and not-so-subtle biases he'd witnessed, offered his unequivocal support. He provided Malik Johnson with a detailed statement corroborating several incidents and highlighting the lack of resources and understanding for culturally diverse students. His testimony as an insider would prove invaluable. Most powerfully, Anna's bold action galvanized other immigrant families. One by one, they came forward, first hesitantly, then with growing confidence, sharing their own painful experiences. Stories of children being belittled for their accents, their cultural practices dismissed, their names chronically mispronounced despite corrections. Anna's kitchen table became a safe haven, a place for tears, for anger, but also for solidarity. Her analytical mind carefully helped document these accounts, transforming individual grievances into a collective voice demanding systemic change. It became clear that Sofia's experience was not an anomaly. It was a symptom of a deeper, pervasive issue. The school had ignored these whispers for years, but now, thanks to Anna's fight, they were becoming a roar. You might be wondering, what was the one piece of secret evidence that Anna had been meticulously gathering? We're getting closer to that reveal. The growing discontent culminated in a peaceful rally organized on the school lawn. It wasn't a protest fueled by rage, but a demonstration driven by a profound yearning for justice and inclusion. Dozens of families, representing the diverse fabric of Crestwood, stood side by side. Children held up hand-drawn signs. The local press, alerted by Rebecca and Malik, arrived with cameras and microphones, amplifying their voices beyond the confines of the town. The most moving part of the rally was the testimonials. One after another, children from different backgrounds stepped forward to share their experiences, their small voices carrying immense weight. A young boy spoke of being told his traditional holiday wasn't as important as Christmas. A girl described how teachers constantly mispronounced her name, making her feel invisible. Then, Sofia, clutching Anna's hand, stepped up to the microphone. Her voice was soft, but clear. "I like my school," she began, "and I like my friends. I just want everyone to be kind, and for my culture to be okay here." She paused, then added, "My mommy is very brave." The crowd erupted in applause, not just for Sofia, but for the collective courage on display. The rally sent a clear message to the school district. The community was watching, united, and demanding change. The heartfelt stories, the sheer number of people who showed up, it was a powerful testament to the shared cost of systemic bias. The pressure was mounting. The district knew they couldn't dismiss this as the complaint of one disgruntled parent any longer. Anna's quiet fight had ignited a community uprising. The school district, faced with mounting public pressure, the weight of meticulously documented evidence, and the prospect of a protracted legal battle, agreed to a formal hearing. It wasn't a courtroom, but a boardroom, yet the stakes felt just as high. Anna sat beside Malik Johnson, outwardly composed, her binder of notes and evidence before her. This was the culmination of months of tireless work, of sleepless nights spent analyzing data, connecting patterns, and steeling her resolve. The district's lawyers attempted to downplay the incidents, to frame them as isolated misunderstandings, the actions of a few stressed individuals. But Malik, armed with Anna's comprehensive dossier, systematically dismantled their arguments. And then it was Anna's turn to speak. Anna didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. She spoke with a quiet, powerful clarity that captivated the room. She presented not just Sofia's story, but the interwoven narratives of numerous other children. Her analytical mind, the hidden skill that so many had underestimated, was now on full display. She laid out timelines, cross-referenced incidents, pointed to specific school policies that were either lacking or inherently biased. It was her methodical comparison of disciplinary records, which she had painstakingly pushed to obtain through Malik, that delivered the final, undeniable blow. Anna had noticed a stark disparity. Children of color, particularly those for whom English was a second language, were disproportionately disciplined for minor infractions compared to their white peers. The numbers, coolly presented, told a story of systemic inequity that was impossible to refute. This was the secret pattern she had uncovered, hidden within the school's own data. There was a stunned silence when she finished. The raw data, combined with the emotional weight of the personal testimonies, created an irrefutable case. The district's facade of confident denial crumbled. After a tense deliberation, their lead counsel spoke. "The Crestwood School District," he announced, his voice strained, "acknowledges that there have been gaps in staff training and oversight. We recognize the validity of many of the concerns raised." It was an admission of failure, a monumental concession. The victory was profound. In the landmark agreement that followed, the school district committed to sweeping changes. Mandatory, comprehensive cultural competency and anti-bias training workshops were to be implemented for all teachers and staff. Disciplinary policies would be thoroughly revised, with clear protocols to address and prevent bias. Funding was allocated for a new, multicultural curriculum, ensuring that the diverse heritages of all students would be acknowledged and celebrated. At a special school assembly, Sofia Herrera was publicly praised by Principal Miller for her courage in speaking up. The genuine applause from her classmates and teachers was a balm to her young heart. And Ana Herrera, the immigrant mother who had dared to challenge the system, was invited to serve on a newly formed district advisory board for diversity and inclusion. She accepted, not for recognition, but to ensure that the changes implemented would be meaningful and lasting. The transformation in Crestwood Elementary wasn't overnight, but it was real. Teachers became more mindful in their interactions. Classroom libraries began to feature books with characters from all walks of life. Cultural celebrations became genuine expressions of a shared community, not token gestures. Sofia, once singled out for her differences, now saw those differences reflected and respected around her. Her accent was no longer a point of curiosity, but simply a part of who she was. The invisible walls had begun to crumble. Anna's victory, born from a mother's love and empowered by her sharp intellect and unyielding perseverance, became a beacon of hope. It demonstrated that one voice, when armed with truth and supported by a united community, could indeed dismantle injustice. Anna and Sofia's story is a powerful reminder. Systemic injustice often hides in the quiet corners of our everyday lives, in classrooms, in casual remarks, in unspoken biases. But it also reminds us that change is possible. It reminds us that the courage of a single individual, especially when that individual possesses an underestimated strength like Anna's keen analytical mind and deep perseverance, can be the catalyst for profound transformation. When we dare to listen, truly listen, to the experiences of others, especially those from marginalized communities, when we challenge our own biases and the biases embedded in our institutions, and when we stand together, united in our pursuit of fairness, we honor the fundamental promise of equity and dignity for every child, regardless of their background, their accent, or the traditions they hold dear. Anna's journey shows us that fighting for justice isn't always loud. Sometimes, it's the meticulous gathering of facts, the quiet determination, and the unwavering belief in what is right. Her victory wasn't just for Sofia. It was for Crestwood, and it's an inspiration for us all. Anna didn't yell. She didn't threaten. She investigated and changed everything. If her quiet courage moved you, hit like, share this story, and subscribe for more narratives that turn pain into power. In the comments, what injustice have you seen, and what would it take for you to speak up? Real change starts small, sometimes with one mother, sometimes with you,